Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Here.
Benyon?
Here.
Graziano?
Here.
Nattari? Robel?
Here.
Strumelob Burke? Mayor Melham?
Here. Sunshine?
Pursuant to the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was published in the Thursday, July 7th, 2022 editions of the Belleville Times and Star Ledger. A copy of the annual meeting notice has been posted on the Belleville Town Hall bulletin board, and copies are on file in the municipal clerk's office.
Pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody to our first meeting in July. There's only one meeting in July, it's this one. Traditionally on our first meeting, we have a combined conference regular meeting. That means that any council member and or professional can put something on for discussion. What you're doing is watching and listening to us deliberate. Unfortunately, you are not participating in these conversations, but if you do hear something that piques your interest, you most certainly can discuss it during your 5-minute public commenting time. So without further ado, the first item and the only item on our agenda for today was placed on by Councilmember Strumelob Burke, and it is just a part. Just make sure your microphone's on.
Okay,
So you want to talk about?
yes. First of all, the members of the council, Just a Party, has been a Belleville tradition for many years. Many residents that are unable to pay for $5 for a gallon of gas or go on an expensive vacation look forward to this event every year. The pandemic put a hold on our party for a couple of years, and now more than ever, we as leaders of the community should act. September 29th would be a perfect date to end the summer with a great party. We just hired a person to help the entire council, and with the help of other town employees, hopefully, we can get the event started as soon as possible and have a great party for the whole community. It has been a great event. We need to do something. Things are to have changed, and I wish we can get everyone to join in to have this party together for all of us. And thank you for your time.
That's it.
That's it.
Anybody?
Yeah. Is the 29th a good date for us? I
No,
know
it's a summer concert.
Summer concert, right?
Oh, September, I'm sorry.
No, it's
So
not
is that
September
September 29th?
So yeah, September 29th. There should,
Yeah,
this should be all
September
right.
29th, yes.
Should be okay. I don't think so. I didn't see anything.
No.
How about the official count?
This is the unofficial.
The week
Please,
before that
it's
was
the cactus.
softball.
I know that they wanted-
Thursday, September 20th? Was it always on a Thursday?
Sometimes Tuesday,
I
sometimes
don't know why I
Thursday.
have concerts that are extending into September.
the concerts are.
I know.
We have the
My
first Thursday.
calendar has movie nights and concerts.
First Thursday in September.
This is,
That's the last concert.
Correct.
yes.
September 29th should be a good date.
Mr. Mayor, we need a lot of people to help us with this. You know, it's a big, thing to go through. So whatever help you can give us, if your people, we'll be grateful. That's it.
Just wanted
To check
to,
the temperature.
I know that you brought it up. I'm not sure how the process goes, is this, because since this is a process when we discuss it, what specifics, what's needed, and maybe that's geared to you, Anthony, to understand when you say mayor and help, and, just want to understand what that means. We need people to help us, for all of us to join in together and make it a good time for the entire town. That's what we need.
So the town's not going to run it? Do we have the resources? Are we budgeted this year for it? Do we have the resources? The person that did run it, I'm told, isn't really interested in running it. Is that true?
Not that I know of.
You should probably ask that person,
Well,
the
but
manager.
we also have a whole crew here of people.
Right,
And
I'm
the
sure
other
we
the
can
other
get
thing
to
too,
that.
this was funded separately in a trust account. We still have that trust account. We didn't spend it.
I'd have to go.
Go check, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let us
That's
know,
important.
because there was a trust account for this.
And I think there was money left over too.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is to raise more money. too.
But if we are
Yes.
talking about the same person, she is not
No.
interested.
After a dozen years of that person running it, we're a month
That I do.
and a half out, and we have nobody to run it.
That person, we all know who that person is, we can't mention names. That person, she did know what she was doing,
Yes, you did.
and she's not gonna run it, but she took on this extra work. Did she get a stipend for that?
I don't think she-
No, I think we all,
She just did
I
it?
think it's just a,
Because that was a lot for her to do two
Yeah,
jobs.
it's a
Yeah,
lot
but there
for
were other
short
people that joined in too,
Yeah.
you know, but she did a marvelous job.
But she's out.
Yeah.
Yes.
I could speak.
So I think we have to go back to, I guess, before we can even make a decision on it, do we have someone that's able to run it? Because we understand that logistically, there's so many decisions to make, and also, Anthony, if we can find out whether we actually have the money to run it. Would that be probably the first step?
the cost is usually offset by sponsors. As long as we can get sponsors, we're fine. If we
Okay.
don't get sponsors.
So someone has to
then
come
we-
Yes,
we-
well,
I wasn't aware that there was a
We-
fund though.
we-
Is
Yes,
that?
there was a fund.
Okay.
I think,
There was a separate trust.
I think that you should, I mean, in the years past, we should have documentation of trending, right? Like everything that we've done for food trucks and everything like that, we know what we brought in, what we spent. There should be some documentation on a trend up or trend down, and if that's the case, did we budget for it?
But just,
I
I know
don't know
everybody
the
loves to talk about sponsorships like they fall out of the sky. We did not really get enough sponsorships for the summer concert. You know, we didn't, so I don't know how we're gonna get in 2 months' time, a person to run it and money and everything else. Just my 2 cents.
Well, that's my question. You should go back in history and find out what did it cost us, if anything? And if it did, is the money there?
That's the thing too, you gotta find new sponsors. There's only so many times you get hit
I
up.
know.
Nanina's in the hospital
for sure.
and everyone who
And they always
donates
support, yeah.
all our town events, which is great, but I think we have to, if we wanna do this, you know, gotta find new blood.
And you also have to find out who would be willing to run this work, and know what they're doing. Anybody can say, oh, I like to do it, but then they don't know what they're doing, and you have a mess on your hands, and you only have 2 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if I may ask, also, is it possible that the person that did run in the past maybe has paperwork, checklists, something, and maybe I am being naive,
We
so
have
I'm
files.
just asking,
We have
in case we did have
Yeah,
someone
yeah.
else that
We-
can,
We do have the files.
okay, so that way they
We do have
can,
the files, so.
if there were somebody
Right.
willing to help,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I guess the discussion here is more feasibility. Yeah, I think that's the first step. See if we could raise the
See how
money, whoever
feasible
could
it is.
raise the money. If
Yeah,
they
see
can
how
get
feasible.
money together, great. If they can't, then it might be dead in the water.
That might be the second step. I think the first step is finding out
Is that person.
if the venue, private property is actually interested in having this festival there.
Okay.
That's-
Agreed.
Anthony's got some work to do.
Feasibility from venue perspective, funding perspective, and resources.
And just keep in mind, the food truck festival is a week later. It's been scheduled, booked, and advertised for a year now. Anybody else? No? Okay, we're good.
I'm sorry, just to clarify, I apologize, so would Anthony be the person doing all of that?
Yeah.
Is that,
course.
okay, got it,
Always.
just,
I'll get an email out to the council, first make sure that the strip mall or the property
Yeah,
that
the
the
properties.
First step.
property that's available. And then second of all, I would say that maybe we can get one letter out. We can give ourselves maybe like a 2-week period to see what kind of response we get. And if,
Sure.
you know, again, we don't have to officially announce just a party maybe until, say, August 1st. Because when you think about it, August 1st is still close to like 60 days away from
yeah.
So if we can get something out and do a 2 or 3 week period.
Put the feelers out.
I suggest we just let Anthony make the ultimate decision, because by the time we wait for the next council meeting. it
Exactly.
No, we wouldn't definitely wait for
The
that.
council has never made decisions on events.
I understand.
We've never voted on an event, by the
I
way.
understand that, but in light of what's going on tonight,
Yeah,
we're
that's
running
fine.
out of time, and
He can tell us what the feasibility
Let him do it.
me and Anthony can look into the feasibility of it and just leave it up to him.
Sounds good to me. Moving forward. Next item on the agenda is the report of the manager.
Good evening, everyone, and July is always a nice month in most town halls, a lot of vacations, so as much as it may seem a little quiet, we are very busy. I just thought I'd use my report, my time for my report today is just to bring the council and residents up to speed on what we're doing grant-wise. And, you know, some good news, in our first 6 months, we actually received in hand approval of 6 grants that have accumulated in excess of over $636,000. So we received grants for property acquisition, we received $75,000 for the improvement of Belleville Park. So we have a tentative plan going forward. We have some small grant of $7,000 for overtime. The Silver Lake Light Rail pedestrian safety improvement, that one alone was $290,000. So the grant committee, we have Jackie and we have Gabby and Betty takes the lead on that. And we do have weekly calls. And that's the good news. As much as we already received 6 substantial grants in the first 6 months of the year, we have over 20 other potential applications that are going to be submitted or have been submitted, and we're waiting to find out if we received awards or not. So from a grant perspective, it's a wide range from environmental to acquisition to improvements. So it's something that we've been working with, and besides the $636,000 that we have already received, we have our name in the hat for a $1.5 million DOT grant, pedestrian improvements on Franklin Street, a pedestrian plaza on Washington Avenue, some additional police and fire equipment, and police overtime. So these are the grants that were out there soliciting, and again, we're off to a good start. So I just thought that would be my report. Certainly, I'm always available for questions.
Questions of the manager?
I just had a quick question. I saw something recently about defibrillator stations at recreation facilities, and I'm just trying to understand what the process is there. How do they use them? I mean, I know in schools people are trained and there's a control environment there, but how do they deal with them when they put them on poles?
I haven't bought one in Belleville, but I do have some prior experiences purchasing them. They're not that expensive, $1,500, and they do come with in-service training up to about 7 employees. So for instance, if we have one in this building,
Right.
we put it on the wall, we'd buy it, maybe it's $1,500, or it was $1,500 the last time I purchased one.
Right.
And we would have 7 people in the building that are certified.
Like
and trained
the
on it.
stadium and stuff
Yep.
like that. I know what you're talking about.
If you see that, just send it my way, and we certainly can take a look at
Okay.
that.
Yeah, so if I may, we used to do that, Councilman, in Little League. The police used to come here with all the managers, coaches, certified us, and we had defibrillators up there, so,
So they had a pole, these are like, when I saw them, Tommy, they're poles,
yeah.
and it looks like almost like a call box, and they have the defib mounted on the pole. I'm just trying to understand how you control that environment.
No, exactly.
That's what's bothering me. I just saw that. Okay, thank you.
Anthony, can you maybe update us? I saw some stuff on social media, from different media outlets, about Belleville being in violation of some kind of sick day. We were caught up in a statewide survey, and
Yeah,
can you
so,
just sell that for us?
so the state comptroller did a small testing throughout the state of New Jersey, and they happened to pick 60 communities out of 500 and say 65. So they just did a sampling, so to speak. And we were the ones that filled out the survey, so to speak, and submitted it back to the comptroller. We gave them all the information. And basically, the New Jersey State Comptroller making recommendations for us to, and again, all the towns are more or less in the same position. You have a bargaining agreement, contract that's in place. Then you have a law that goes back to 2007, and there's some conflict, so to speak. So what the comptroller is making a recommendation is that we hire an independent labor attorney, because it can't be the attorney that wrote our contract, and it can't be the town attorney who takes all involved. So they're making a comment that we hire an independent labor attorney. He'll take a look at the existing bargaining units, and then he would come back and make a recommendation, because in order for us to be in total compliance, we would have to make some adjustments. You don't know.
Yeah, we're slightly out of compliance, but Anthony didn't mention that the comptroller took a survey of 60 towns, 57 of them were in violation. There's another three, in the report, they actually say there's another 500 towns, and a large percentage of them are probably in violation of as well. But Anthony, actually, there's a couple in the contracts, he's actually made some progress in that regard, and we may not, the ordinance says one thing, but some of the contracts say other things. So it's something, we have to give them a plan, and that's why we got to hire that independent attorney, just to do a survey and give recommendations. And that's, we have to report that to the Office of Control. Okay. And the second for the manager, I know we talked about this. I have it here. I know we talked about this, these letters that often go out about the Belleville water. Thankfully, before the last one went out, I think you got your hands on it, and we were able to massage the language a little bit to make it a little more user-friendly, so people knew what was going on. And admittedly, when you read it, it talks about the fact that we missed a deadline in 2021, which was a year ago. But why is it? I mean, I'm looking at the letter now. There's 4 quarters where samples have to be taken, and every single sample was taken literally a day or 2 after the deadline. And that triggers us having to mail out everybody, tell them that we messed up. Why is that? Why can't we get the samples taken within the period? Why do they have to be taken one day after, 3 days after, 2 days after, and 1 day after the deadline? And then that triggers us sending out a letter a year later, and people don't really read it. They think the water's bad. They don't realize that we just missed the sampling deadline by a day or 2. Why is that?
So I certainly don't have that answer.
But you know what I'm talking about, right? I have the letter right here.
When you read it, it appears that because we took a sampling a day after the deadline, we become in violation.
Right.
Seems too easy, but maybe it is that easy just to fix and do it the day before. But it certainly will be on my list to speak to
Is
Tom
there
Harris.
a timeframe with, like, can it be done a week?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to speak for.
So it
When
doesn't have
samples
to,
should have been taken, and then we take them a day after.
okay, so it has to be on a specific date that
Range,
they give?
2-week
or a
range, 2-week
A
range.
2 week, okay, so there's no excuse.
I know sometimes
But
they,
4 times we missed it by a day.
Yeah.
I know sometimes they have trouble getting into people's houses. You have to set an
Yeah, I
appointment,
mean-
people didn't want to let you in during COVID.
It's 1 sample a quarter. I'm
Yeah.
sure someone in this building can figure that out.
If the answer to your question is more complicated than common sense, right? Because on face value, it looks like it's common sense. If it is more complicated, I will ask Mr. Harris to be available at the August meeting, just to give us an update. Because we really haven't had an update most recent, not only on the lead line replacements and the actual level of lead in water, so that might be a good time.
Okay, next on the agenda is report of the mayor. Quickly, past events. We had a great Independence Day celebration on July 1st. Belleville seems to always be setting the standard locally for a great fireworks display. We also had a lot of fun for the children from 6 o'clock on. Monday July 4th, we had our traditional 4th of July events. It was yoga, it was a ceremony, nice ceremony at Dutch Reformed Church, and a brand new event that I hope becomes an annual tradition, which was the color run at 11 o'clock at the high school. Nick, I don't see him here today, but Nick did a great job with that. We've already started our first solid week of summer entertainment. This year it's not a summer concert series, it's a summer entertainment. Why? Because we have movies every other Wednesday and we have concerts every single Thursday. So we had our first July 6th and July 7th in the bank. And this coming week is an off week for the movies. It's every other Wednesday. So our second concert will be this coming Thursday. News to report. You might see on the website and hopefully my social media that we are trying to raise some funds for our Belleville Purple Hearts. They spent $10,000 on a beautiful monument that's now in our Veterans Memorial. We have a GoFundMe page. I'll be sharing that on my social media in the coming weeks, but we're trying to not just offset the cost of that monument, but we're trying to get the full $10,000 for them. So please participate if you can. Speaking of participation, our Belleville Police Department Community policing have ramped up, once again, interacting with our teens and our children. They have, it's a brand-new program called Operation Chill, whereby they are awarding, I think that's supposed to be rewarding, but they are rewarding our youth with a refreshing Slurpee from our local 7-Eleven. So as officers see kids doing a good deed, kids wearing a helmet, kids doing things that we want to see kids doing, our officers have free coupons for Slurpees for them at 7-Eleven. First Tee program is still available. It's doing fantastic. It's an unbelievable facility. Check out our website for more information. Registration for fall sports also on our website. Lastly, Gabby from our green team was grateful, generous enough, I should say, to put together a spotted lanternfly release for us. That's on our website. We are still having infestation of spotted lanternflies. Squash them, right, Gab? Smush them.
If you can get them.
We just want to squish them. Lastly, upcoming events. Tomorrow is a blood drive at the Senior Center from 1 to 6. This coming Thursday, as I mentioned, Cityscape in the Park Avenue Orange. 7 o'clock, you can gather at the high school at 6:30. 7 o'clock is when the concert starts. Remember, every other Wednesday and every single Thursday. This coming Friday, Motor Vehicle Mobile Unit will be in Belleville. You may have to register for certain services. Check out our website for information on that. This Saturday is our second ever Farmers Market at Belleville High School from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. This Sunday is National Ice Cream Day. So Deputy Mayor, you want to come by, I can give you a free ice cream. We're going to be doing that. It's a special location, special time. Check social media for that. And then Tuesday, August 2nd, coming up, a National Night Out Against Crime. Our police department's once again at it. We are still going to be doing block parties. So if you want to have a block party, register with the police department. And then check out our library website because they have all kinds of good programming happening. That's it for my mayor's report. Next up, it's the first meeting of the month. So we have committee reports for anybody. I'll start with the deputy mayor to my left. Anything, we have ad hoc committees here in Belleville. Anything a council member wants to jump on, they can jump on. Are you on the air conditioner committee for this? Sure. I think it's a perfect task for the new deputy mayor.
Not at all.
Air conditioner, council chamber air conditioning committee.
HVAC.
You're on. Councilman Burke? Mr. Tar? Anya?
Good.
Cosarelli? Ruel? No?
Even though we have air conditioning.
Anybody else volunteering to serve with Tommy on that committee? No? No? Okay. Then we're going to go to the approval of minutes.
Not at this time, Mayor.
We're going to go to communications.
At this time.
We're going to go to ordinances.
Ordinance number 1, for introduction, ordinance of the Township of Belleville, ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Belleville, amending Chapter 31-1, specifically Chapter 31-1.2B, Community Garden Advisory Committee, Parks, Recreation Areas, and Open Space, Chapter 31-1, Community Garden.
Need a motion.
Motion introduced.
Second.
The motion made and second introduced. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Notari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob? Yes. Mayor Melham?
Yes. 2.
An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Belleville amending Chapter 2-12, specifically Chapter 2-12.2 of the Administrative Code section of the Township Code.
Make a motion introduced.
We have a motion made and second introduced. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Notari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Number 3.
An ordinance to amend ordinance number 3634, creating personnel positions and adopting classification and compensation plans.
Need a motion.
Motion introduced. Second.
Motion made and second. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Notari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
Number 4, an ordinance of the mayor and council of the Township of Belleville, County of Essex, New Jersey, adopting the 705-757 Main Street redevelopment plan.
Make a motion introduced. Second.
Motion made and second introduced. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Notari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. 5.
An ordinance authorizing the Township of Belleville to accept certain easements for public access to plaza and township access to utilities concerning the real property located at 630 and 632 Washington Avenue, Block 9101, lots 9 and 10.
Make a motion introduced. Second.
Motion made and second introduced. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Notari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelob?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes. Okay, public comments, need a motion to open public comments?
So moved.
We have a motion made and second to open public comments. How about this, all in favor?
Aye.
What happens if we're not in favor? We not open
Same,
public
same.
comments?
Same.
Yeah, but if it doesn't carry, what do you do?
Nah, it's- it'd be-
Right, so there shouldn't even be a vote, we should just do it. Public commenting, so public commenting, any individual wishing to speak has 5 minutes to speak, it's called public commenting. We ask that you please try and keep your comments to government or township business. I will ask you that once you're called upon to come forward to the microphone, please state your name and address for the record. Chief, can you make sure that phone is on, Mrs. Frantantoni? Can you make sure that my is on?
Phyllis Frantantoni, now Prospect Avenue. Resolution number 2, I'm glad to see that on here. Where would that be? Where would you put a park for the disabled?
So we're applying for it, we might not necessarily get it, but I'm thinking we have 3 options. We have part of the pistol range, which is currently under remediation. We just approved something for Fairway Park, and we also have number 9 school. So those are 3 options right there, not including the rec house, which would probably be a 4th option.
Yeah, I like the pistol range. I think it's a good option. It's out of the way. And the property on Rucker Street that they're supposed to be building on, that it looks like the jungle, what's going on with that? I mean, they don't even maintain it. There's all overgrown trees, weeds and everything over there. So it's really bad.
Horrible. I can believe it.
So I hope that you get after the owner of that and have them clean it up because it's an
Manager
eyesore
taking notes.
coming over the bridge and seeing that.
It's a gateway into Belleville, and it's terrible to see.
Yes. And I have one question. Did anybody send a letter to Meredith Hammond about the light by ShopRite? Because she requested a handwritten one, not email and not, she wanted something written to her.
Manager?
Yes, I believe after one of the meetings, after, I think you represented that all she needed was a request from the council and she would do the light.
I hope so.
But that wasn't, when I called her, she said, no, it's much more than a request, but the council would have to commit to a percentage of the feasibility study, which we haven't discussed yet. And I can put it on our list to discuss it. So DOT would want a commitment from the council that we would pay for a portion of.
So, Mr. Manager, I know this has been brought up, this is beginning my 5th year here. This has been brought up numerous times, and every time our answer has always been consistent. It's part of the development that's going across the street, that's part of their community give back, is to either commit to the study or pay for a portion of the Red Hawk, Chief? The Red Hawk light.
All right, because they had told me that on Union Avenue and Home Street, that the council would be responsible for half of it. And it turned out, after speaking with Joe D., that nobody in the town paid for anything. That's all picked up by the county. That they paid for everything, they installed it and they maintained it and everything. Well, the state, if you put a little pressure on them, maybe they'll do the same thing. And I read in the paper about an accident on Washington Avenue, that someone was killed there, and I hope to God it wasn't by the ShopRite, because there is on the pole flowers stapled to the pole by ShopRite.
It was not.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? All right.
Meredith Rouse, 95 Bell Street. Just a quick question on this one. Mr. Icona, I'm still waiting for my answer from the last town, from the budget meeting. You were supposed to email me something. Check your notes and please email it to me tomorrow. You're a little late.
If you just shoot me an email, you'll get it.
All right. Because I was waiting for it and then you...
I honestly thought you were going to send me an email.
No, I was waiting for you first. All right, either way, we'll get it done, okay. Then I only have 2 items here. I'm just going to make a comment on this ordinance number 4 for introduction, even though we're going to have a public hearing next month. I still can't understand why one development next door gets an area rehabilitation and the other one gets a redevelopment. It just doesn't make sense when the whole town is designated in an area of rehabilitation if they get a 5-year tax abatement. I just can't, I would just like an answer as to what makes this property special opposed to the Amazon property next door where they only got a 5-year abatement.
It could be as simple as a $1 million remediation plan for the contamination or $20 million remediation.
I think maybe that's the answer. We should find out what it's costing to remediate the old one and the new one.
The good thing about it is that we're going to have clean soil, we're going to have a rateable on it that we never have, we're not going to have any kids in the school district.
Okay, let me tell you why I'm always opposed to the area of redevelopment. Because when I look at the area of redevelopment versus rehabilitation, I'm always looking at the Board of Ed end. You're paying,
Commercial building with a warehouse, I mean, no children.
no, that's not what I'm saying. You're paying the 0 the first year, then you pay, it's actually 6 year, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%.
If it's the 5-year, not in this.
But, all right, so the smaller developments in town are getting a 6 year, with the 0 the first year, correct?
It depends, if it's an area rehabilitation,
Thank you.
if it's the 5-year.
It's the 5 year.
0 the first year.
Right,
This is
0
an
the
area
first
need-
year,
it's
so
an area
6 years total.
Need a redevelopment.
Before they hit the top dollar. But like I said, I'm always looking at the Board of Ed end, because eventually, the schools are gonna explode, and where's the money gonna come from?
As I mentioned, Mayor, this is a commercial property, there's going to be no kids.
Yeah, but that's not what I'm talking about, but we could use that money. Walter Kitty's gonna be paying the full amount for the Board of Education in 5 years. They all should, they should get it. So what's wrong with that? Is there anything wrong with that?
No.
No, nothing. And the last thing is, what is the purpose of recycling in the town? To keep cans and stuff out of,
It's the law.
it's the law. Okay. No, I'm not nitpicking on this guy, but first time they didn't pick up my garbage. 3 days later they came and they picked up the garbage and the recycling. So I didn't say a word, I didn't email you or anything. The second time, my video camera catches them and I happen to be outside. And guess what? I'm telling the guy that's garbage and that's recycling. They looked at me like and ignored me and just took recycling and garbage and put it in the truck.
But why would
Number
you-
3, let
why-
me finish
no,
up.
No, wait, why would you have your recycling out?
No, because they didn't pick up the garbage the 2 days before that. So the garbage was still out there for 2 days. In other words, my garbage is Tuesday.
Right.
My recycling.
So if you called us and told us, we would have sent the...
Or send the video, which we really like.
I have 2 videos to send you.
But you don't have to wait for a council meeting for that, Mayor. You
Yeah.
can send that to the manager anytime.
Yeah, but enough is enough. Now, the third time, the first time, the second time I went to them, they looked at me, they took it away. The third time, I'm looking, again, Tuesday, Wednesday, they don't come till Friday, they take both.
If there's a garbage miss and you call Public Works, we usually...
Yeah, but, and then you can say what a pain I am for constantly bothering you, right?
If you don't call, we can't tell that they missed your house, okay?
I know.
So- And again, listen, it's been a challenge.
I called on my complex.
It's been a challenge. If there's a misstop, you need to let Public Works know. We have a supervisor and they have a supervisor.
So what happens when this garbage goes to wherever they are recycling? Now it's commingled. 3 times they commingled my garbage. So what are we doing about that?
Again, it won't happen if you let us know. And again, there's going to be misstops, I understand that. If they miss your stop on a garbage day, don't wait 3 days and not tell us, because then there's going to be confusion between recycling and garbage.
Well, so far I got 2 videos on it. But I'm the only one on the whole block complaining, that's the whole problem.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Frank Antone.
Good evening, Mayor. See, on Resolution 5, you're establishing a green team. I think we already had that, didn't we? Anyway, I hope your green team would start addressing planning and zoning board and trying to keep the town green, because we're overdeveloping and paving over every square inch of grass and impervious area that we have in town. And the problem with it is that we're talking about greening, growing this and all that, and yet we're allowing these developers to take all our green space away. So I hope this green team would take care of that. In regard to, and by the way, I want to thank you for this last election, with a little bit of comedy, if an election, if you want to call it that. One of the few times in Belleville where I saw council people run against council people, so we had an election and we got the same stuff up there. The good part of it, which I'm very happy to, I say campaign literature, you guys seem to agree with us residents about overdevelopment. You were accusing each other in your campaign literature of overdevelopment. So thank you for that. The citizens were correct. We're overdeveloping the town. I don't know if you know what the absorption rate is on rental units, but over the last 6 months, it has dropped dramatically, and we're eventually going to left with
Just to correct.
Section 8 housing.
Just to correct you, Mr. Quinn, I never said we were overdeveloping. I said I slowed development.
Well, I have your campaign literature. So,
I wrote it.
Yeah, it's the word.
I know
Right. So, but you both agree, you're accusing each other of overdevelopment.
No.
Well, you said you said most of the overdevelopment, 65% was from the prior administration.
It was.
So-
Thank you for putting that out there.
Yeah.
65%.
So, but I thank you. We're overdeveloping. So maybe now you could pay attention and put a halt on some of this crazy stuff that's going on in this town. At Washington Avenue, every businessman complaining, they come to me in my block, you literally can't park. And in fairness to the police department, they're really not enforcing when people park in front of the highway, hydrants and all, because it's impossible to park. You can't do business. You're trying to pick up food, people trying to come do my laundry, people trying to buy a cup of coffee. It's absolutely insane. And then you're allowing these developments and planning board, not the full amount of parking that's required. Oh, they're only 17 spaces short. Oh, no, only 10 spaces short. Meanwhile, we're getting killed on Washington Avenue. That's it. But let me get to the garbage now and the recycling. Through the chair, or the council, are we getting paid for our recycling?
That's for Mr. Icona.
The unfortunate part is that the market dictates what we get and what we don't get. So, for instance, at one point, cardboard used to be a high commodity, and we used to get paid for cardboard. Unfortunately, we have no control over the market, and at this moment, we are paying for both. Homeinco, we're paying for glass, aluminum, and paper cardboard.
Well, and again, like Mr. Gross said, I've seen it, and other people have called me and told me that it's going in the garbage. The garbage men are picking up the recycling and the garbage, and we're paying for it at the incinerator. But I recycle. At least once, probably twice a month, I'm recycling something. I go to Allied and Wallington and all that, and I talked to them a couple of weeks ago. Cardboard is paying $95 to $1.05, $105 a ton. Now, when I was recycling corner, we had a separate cardboard recycling. 3 Saturdays, 3 zones in town, just cardboard, flattened and tied, and we were making money. And you could still, as of last week, it was paying $95 to $100 a ton for cardboard. So let's do something. I don't know if you have the recycling coordinator or who he or she is. I used to be. Let's start amending our recycling ordinance. You're making us, we're wasting water, rinsing out our bottles and food things for clean recycling, and then it's going to the incinerator. So we're not getting paid, we're losing money, and we're losing money in water to clean out these things that are not being recyclable. Can we look into it? Setting up a separate cardboard recycling so we can make some money. They are paying for cardboard now. And there's more than ever because more people are shopping from home and there's tons of cardboard.
So our contract specifically mandates that they cannot collect the same. They have to separate it, and for those specific reasons, Mr. Frantantoni, we get paid for it for recycling, plus we'll pay less per tonnage for the tipping fees because we'll have less garbage in there. So I agree with you, it's something the manager has to address with the contract, but your time is up, so I thank you.
Well, you tell me you can't separate the cardboard?
When did I say that? I said our contract specifically says it has to be separated, they cannot pick up, they cannot commingle.
I'm saying separate the cardboard from the cans and
That's not what
bottles.
our contract says.
Well, I'm asking you,
We
to
have a
start a
contract, so
program.
if 3 years and the contract is up, we could probably do it that
We
way.
have single stream, he's referring to us.
I know he's not.
Yeah. If you separate, you can make some money.
We just signed a contract in March. But thank you for your time, your time's up. Anybody else?
Mayor, just to touch on that real quick, the green team resolution has to be done every year for a ordinance, so that we can get grants.
I know that,
That's
but we're
so-
not reestablishing.
Yeah, we're not,
Establish
it's
for
just
20.
for grant purposes, and also the best thing to do is to reuse your plastic and glass containers, not even recycle, reuse them, don't even throw them away.
Sir,
Good evening, Mayor, Council. I went to the event July 4th down at the Dutch Reformed Church, and there was a picture there, to show you a picture that I took.
It went dark.
Oh,
Can we-
sorry. There you go.
So I'm gonna pass it around.
I just snapped it, it goes that. See, I'm going to explain that picture to you. And then the comments I got online, nobody really knows about it. It's a little bit of history. So I just like- That's Captain Benson from Belleville. So I asked a gentleman there, and he explained the whole story to me, and his position. Anyway, so I posted it online, social media, and I just want to read the comments that I got. So one comment was, one fellow wrote back to me, he says, "I believe that this is Captain Henry Benson, Center. He's buried in the Dutch Reformed Church Cemetery. His grave is a short distance from the cannon. He's from Belleville. 2 soldiers died in the 7-day battle. Thomas Stevens, which was killed on January 27, 1862, and Captain Henry Benson died of his wounds on August 11, 1862. So then another fellow, same fellow, posted another thing. He said, "The intersection of Main Street and Rutgers Street was dedicated in honor of Captain Henry Benson, who died of his wounds on the battlefield in the Civil War." And he put in parentheses, the sign and the signpost are long gone from the corner of the church. And he has a picture of it, and I just want to know if we could have it
Sure, we
replaced.
can replace it.
Which I never knew about until this fellow just wrote about it. So I'd like to know, I know Councilman Cosarelli is involved in the historic. We can have that replaced.
Yeah,
I think it's kind of important to the town. Thank you so much.
And
Send me
Phil,
that.
send him the picture.
Send me that.
No, send it to him. Text it to him.
You know what? You can just take a shot at it, because I don't know how to do all this.
Come on, sir, you're up, you're up.
The picture of the cannon?
No, the sign.
Oh, the sign.
So it's just-
Yes, how you doing? Michael Shapiro, 712 Drawland Street, Belleville, New Jersey. Today I made a $300 donation to the municipal court. I've been following a protocol from the Belleville Police Department since 1998 to pull off the road and right into my driveway and park my vehicle for a couple hours. So I followed that since, I guess it was 25 years already, and today I had to make a donation to the municipal court. Now, I called up the chief's office several times, requesting a meeting if I could get permission to pull into my driveway. I've been calling for the last couple of weeks and I got no response back. I appreciated Anthony's advice. He said, listen, if you're pulling your driveway, put on your flashers on. You know, I don't think it's necessary. I got 1 acre of property. I'm paying close to $17,000 in taxes. I'm just asking for permission if I can just pull in my driveway without, I have a commercial parking lot where I park down in Passaic for over 25 years. I have a place to park. It's just that, I work at nights, and if I want to pull in my own driveway, I'm only requesting some kind of permission.
So I'm gonna,
And I understand
I'm going to tell you
your hands are
exactly what
limited.
I've told you for the
Right,
past 7 times
correct.
you've been here. We don't issue permission. That's not something that we can do. We've now heard the story, I think it's 7 council meetings in a row.
Right.
This board, this body, there's nothing that we can do.
Well, all I'm asking is what advice you can give me, because I follow the protocol from the Belleville Police Department. They don't bother me. They say, listen, pull in your driveway, pull in your driveway. I've been following in for the last, like I said, 24 years, no problems. I just want, at nighttime, if I want to pull off the road, Drawland's a very busy street. I can't just leave leave my flashers on for a couple hours. I don't want to get a ticket or cause an accident. So all I'm asking, if I
I'm
could
still
pull in.
confused why you just can't drive in your driveway at night on your acre property and park your car.
Well, that's why I requested a meeting.
The police don't do that.
John, no one's gonna bother you if you pull in your car.
I'm
The police
so
don't
confused
enforce that.
at
I
what's
told you
going
that a
on
million
here.
times. You said
Why
no one
can't
answered.
you drive into your property, it's an acre, and park your car?
I'm with you 100%.
Why can't you do that?
Yeah, and I gave you permission to do that. You have permission to go pull in your
Thank
car.
you for solving this problem, Jim.
It's not that.
That's it, you just said do it.
I know, but code enforcement.
Code enforcement doesn't work after 4 o'clock.
That's who you have your problem with. You keep
Right,
coming to see
correct.
me. I don't
And
come
he
by
keeps
you.
coming, chief, he keeps coming to the council. There's nothing that we can do.
Well, no, listen, I respect the Belleville police. I even, Charlie Edwards, I let him come over for years.
That's all well and good, but you just
want
said, I
me
tried
to-
to see you, nobody wants to talk to you. We talked to you a million times. Go pull in your driveway. Nobody
I just
like
wanna get a
that.
ticket.
Gonna bother you.
I just want to get.
But how many times I gotta tell you, no one's coming on your property from the police department to bother you with a ticket.
There
No
you go.
one is.
Case closed.
Code enforcement.
Then why do you keep coming to bother me? I'm not doing it.
No, I'm asking if you can speak to him.
Oh, okay, I'll speak.
That's all I'm
I'll
asking,
speak.
man.
Okay, all right.
No, I appreciate it, listen.
All right, guys, you guys can continue this conversation after the meeting.
All I'm asking, because.
Michael, I do need you to just address,
Okay.
if you're done here, that's good, but
Well, that's all I'm addressing, and I appreciate everyone.
just out of my own curiosity, is it a pickup truck? How big is
No,
the
I
truck?
have like
Is
a
it garbage
landscape,
truck?
I have a landscaper's truck, all right? And, many times I've.
There's many commercial vehicles
Right.
that are parked on properties.
And I've donated my vehicle, I helped out John Jacoby, Charlie Hood for many, many years. I
We
donated
heard
my
it
vehicle.
seven
I'm
meetings in
willing
a
to help
row.
you guys out, listen.
Thank you.
And real quick, I have an acre of property. If you guys ever like, you want to have your just a party, I'm willing to lend you my property. I'll give you my property. as long as
Just a
the
party,
porta
you wanna host just a party in your property?
You put the porta potties, you got an acre of land, and I'm willing to give it to you. You know what I mean? I just don't want you to give me a ticket when I got my vehicle at nighttime, hosting a party over there. All right? So you can keep that in mind, all right? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, chief, for solving this problem.
And once again,
Yara did a great job, right?
thank you.
I knew it was coming.
Yara, Roberta, and Yesenia. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Mr. Mafucci?
Rick Mafucci, 61 Continental Way. Just a couple of things. I noticed tonight that the Great Lawn has finally been cut. I don't know if the owner did it or the town.
No, the owner did not do it.
Okay.
Councilman Graziano was haunting the manager to get it done, and the manager actually got it done.
Did we put another lien? What is the price?
Yes, of course,
Okay.
a large one.
Also now, some of the trees have been trimmed and cut down.
They were weeds, but yeah.
We're not done yet.
Well, they're big enough, I thought they were trees.
Yeah, no, they've been overgrown for a long time.
I know, some of them still are. Okay, as far as the water samples, in the past, I think I had gotten the jar twice, I think every 6 months. But that was a couple of years ago. I have not gotten one since. And I think you had to give the samples to Tom Hertz. I was just
We could be doing two different samples, because we do different types of sampling at different times, so I'm not quite sure which one you participate in. This one is two samples per quarter, per neighborhood. You may have been a lead sample, and this is,
Yeah, it was different.
yeah,
But I don't know why it stopped, unless they stopped the program. I don't know.
don't know.
Yeah, you had to wait overnight, first thing in the morning, you had to fill a jar, and then give it to Tom. Okay, I was just wondering, because it's been a couple of years. All right, thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing none, hearing none? Oh, okay.
Bill Milden, 16 Uncle Street. I noticed the same thing with Vinny was talking about, looking out my window. There was two trucks. I think one was for recycling and the other was to pick up garbage. They missed it. I couldn't believe they're putting everything together in the same truck. I can't believe that. I was going to tell him, I figured, well, you got a rough enough job. Anyway, so people I know would like to, a few things explained here. At one of the council meetings, I requested some help with that investigation with the Board of Ed. of the $4 million deficit almost, and you said you don't get involved with the Board of Ed. So people want to know.
I'm not sure that's what I said. It was probably a while ago.
Well, that's what, if you look past, that's what you said, you don't get involved with the Board of Ed matters. And now they want to know why you're leasing part of your property to the Board of Ed.
Question's been long asked and answered.
Yeah, well, how come we don't get an answer? Just like we can't get an answer from the Attorney General. Actually, there was a file, according to Detective Sean Egan, who has since retired, case file 2101, AG office, also known as file 7863. It's not moving forward. I spoke to him and I said, why?
So, sir, you're talking about a case, just so the public knows, you're talking about a case that's more than 6 years old. The investigator has retired, and you heard from the AG's office that it wasn't going forward. I'm not sure what you want us to do about a Board of Education matter from 6 years ago, where the investigator has retired, and the Attorney General has already said they're not moving forward with it.
And
What
they
is it you expect us to do?
It's 4 years. It's 4 years and 1 month and 1 week since it was turned over to the Attorney General. And can they be that corrupt to cover it up?
They're in Trenton. You can go down there probably, I'm sure, and go to one of the public meetings and ask.
I'm not going all the way down, I'll just call them.
Okay.
They still don't do nothing. Even the FBI Public Complaint Department hung up on me the other day when I mentioned this, because they don't want to talk, because they're crooked too.
Okay. Anybody else? Public comment? Sir?
Good evening, Michael Sheldon, 47 Lloyd Street. I want to start by saying it was very nice of Mr. Shapiro to offer the use of his property, which he has quoted multiple times as being about 1 acre, to host just a party. But before you should ever take him up on that offer, you might want to double check his acreage, because according to official state records, his property is 0.49 acres, not 1 acre. The last time we had somebody appear in this chamber bragging that he had over an acre of land was Mr. Mattia, and unfortunately we know how that story played out. Earlier this evening, there was some quick discussion about the scathing report from the New Jersey Comptroller about the improper, if not illegal, payout of sick leave. If you start to dive a little bit deeper in that report, especially what the Comptroller found about Belleville, he found that Belleville is not only exceeding the $15,000 cap, there is that state law passed in 2007 and revised in 2010, limits the cap to $15,000. Comptroller has found multiple instances where that cap is being violated. Also, that $15,000 payout is only supposed to happen upon retirement, and he has found multiple instances where that payout is happening outside of retirement. So there's a bit more to this, and I'm hoping, I've asked the Controller's Office to give me the full details through an open request. If I should get that information, I'll share it with everyone. The last thing I want to mention tonight, over the course of the last few months, there's been a lot of back and forth between me and Mr. Mellon about the shared services bond ordinance with the Board of Education. It was introduced in March, passed in April. You're bonding for $11.9 million. The terms of that borrowing haven't yet been set. Probably going to cost well over $20 million. Mr. Mellon has tried to draw an analogy between the shared services bond ordinance and what happened with Claremont Field back in 2019. They're radically different, and I'm going to try to quickly go through what these differences are. Claremont Field project, when it was approved by the board in 2019, yes, we borrowed $3.6 million from the Essex County Improvement Authority at 1% interest. However, if you go back to the video record, before the board took that vote, Mr. Egan, State Monitor, Dr. Tomko, and our business administrator went on the record saying that the payment of that borrowed money would not cost Belleville taxpayers a single penny. That it was going to come out of as Mr. Egan repeatedly said, certain economies in the budget. So it didn't cost Belleville taxpayers a single extra penny to renovate Claremont Field. You cannot say that about this shared services bond ordinance. It's 11.9 million principal, and you don't know what the terms, you haven't yet sold the bonds or the notes. And with the way the Federal Reserve is cranking up interest rates, it's probably going to cost well over 20 million. But there's much more to this story than just the cost. The Board of Ed didn't have to acquire any new property. Very different with what we're doing with the shared services bond ordinance. You had to purchase, or the Board of Ed purchased the King's Window lot, 259 Washington Avenue, for $775,000. When the previous owner of it bought that property in February of 2019 for $420,000. The Board of Ed bought it 3 years later for $775,000. The individual, previous owner, made himself a tidy little profit of $355,000. Now, who is that previous owner? Rajesh Gulati. Rajesh Gulati is one of the two owners of the property constituting the Whiskey Priest. Now, if this was a private transaction, all the more power to them, but this isn't a private transaction. You're using taxpayer dollars, state monies, to carry out this shared services bond ordinance.
There was already a public hearing on that, which you were at, I believe.
Right, but there's a much more that's come to light
Understood.
since that time, and I'm
Thank
going
you.
to need a next meeting to finish this, but.
Sure. Thank you so much. Anybody else, public comment? Flashman.
Joanna Fleischman, 33 Main Street. Through the council, through the chair, since the Department of Motor Vehicles is coming, can we possibly get the county clerk to do passports? Is that something we can do?
It's something we could definitely request. I know they used to do it. I'm not sure they still do it since COVID, but we could ask.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think probably it's been cut down since COVID. If we can get that up and running, yeah, that would be helpful. And the Amazon, do we know it's gonna be an Amazon warehouse? The warehouse is coming along nicely. It's got a nice little blue hue to it. It's cute. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Motion, if not, entertain a motion to close.
Second.
We have a motion made and second to close. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. Oh, timeout. Timeout. Anybody on the speaker for public commenting? Anybody dialing in for public commenting? Nope. Okay. So, consent agenda, I'm pulling off 3, 6, and 7. Let's give it time for anybody else. No? Yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to move the consent agenda with the exception of 3, 6, and 7.
So moved.
The motion made and seconded to move the consent agenda, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli? DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Yes.
3, 6, and 7.
3, 6, and 7 can go together.
Make a motion.
We have a motion made and seconded to move 3, 6, and 7 all together. Clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Cosarelli?
Yes.
DePena?
Yes.
Graziano?
Yes.
Nattari?
Yes.
Robel?
Yes.
Strumelberg?
Yes.
Mayor Melham?
Abstain. New business. Seeing none?
Through the chair, something real quick.
Trying to get it
I know,
in by 7 o'clock.
Down to the
We're 6:59.
I got it. So I know that I've seen it down the shore, and I'm kind of getting aware that these pop-up parties are starting to occur.
Yeah.
And we need to be aware of this,
Yeah.
and that everybody out there understands that as soon as they happen, let our police officers know. Just call it in. Okay, so. Okay.
We're aware. Still 6:59, motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
All in favor? Aye. We're adjourned, 6:59.